Hi, I'm Kristen.
Hi, I'm Michelle.
We're readers and writers.
We're sci-fi and fantasy fans, and this is the best of all worlds. And what better way to start today's episode than for talking about the worst tropes out there, the ones we absolutely never want to see in a story, and if we do, we will be rolling our eyes and annoyed.
But we do want a little bit of positivity in here, or at least I do. So instead of bringing examples of these tropes done poorly, because there are plenty, we dug through our brains and found examples of these tropes actually done well.
Yes.
Spoilers, some were hard to find.
Some were very hard to find.
They can be done well.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised I found one for one of my categories, but yeah, no. It can be done well. And I'm sure you guys might listen to our list and be mad, because these might be your favorite tropes. I don't know.
I don't know, because you have two tropes on your list that I actually kind of like a little bit. But we'll get into that. So, as with our top 5 favorite tropes list, we're going to go the same way with our bottom 5. So, starting with number 5 and then going up to number 1, the most eye roll, I do not want to see this ever trope.
Yes. The, please cut it from your draft right. If you're a writer, don't use these tropes.
Just don't do it.
Don't do it.
Just please.
Step away.
Please don't do it.
Step away from the fire.
There's definitely, some variance in opinions. So,
yep.
And I think that starts pretty early on with our number 5s.
Yeah, actually, our number 5s, I think we both like the number 5s on our list, so we're already being divisive.
Amazing. I know everyone's here for the rants, so.
Yes, I really, really don't like chosen one trope. I really don't like a story being a chosen one. There's something about it, it gets under my skin. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is all preordained. So there's an example of one that really bothers me, and that's The Fourth Wing. I like that story, I enjoy it, but I really hate the chosen one aspects of it.
That's fair. I think the worst part about chosen one is that it's super overused.
Right.
But also, I kind of like it. I've read enough examples of the chosen one that are done well that I can enjoy it. It doesn't just straight up bother me. I have enough faith that authors might put effort into making it unique and different. However, it can definitely be done poorly, and it is very overdone. And I know this is generally not a super popular trope, so I feel like I'm in the minority, being it doesn't bother me that much. There are examples that bother me, but the trope as a whole, I don't have a huge problem with it.
I think what bothers me about the chosen one is that what happens a lot with stories that use the chosen one is that they're incredibly overpowered. They doubt themselves for zero reason, despite having clearly more skills than every single person around them. They, for whatever reason, still doubt themselves. And you just know that they're especially in older stories, I guess it's getting a little better, though it still happens. In Fourth Wing, it definitely still happens. But they're just, you just know things are going to work out for them because they're the chosen one, you know what I mean? Maybe it's too predetermined fate. Maybe that's what I don't like about it.
That's fair. Yeah, that makes sense. If you don't like more fate than free will in the story, then I can definitely see how that bothers you.
Yeah, I almost put prophecies, but I put the chosen one, because prophecies are also kind of a similar vein for me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They can be done well, but most of the time they just annoy me.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I feel like the prophecies I like best are the ones that are unclear, or the ones that people have interpreted one way, but end up actually being another way. I think, for example, Percy Jackson, that series does prophecies pretty well, because it's always this is the prophecy, and it's oh, we weren't quite right about what that meant.
Right. That's also a chosen one story as well, a little bit. Percy Jackson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's an example of a pretty good chosen one story.
I agree. Yeah. Another example of one done well, I would say, is Hunger Games, because I would say Katniss is absolutely a chosen one. I mean, she literally becomes like the like symbol of an entire movement by no choice of her own. She just becomes, she's forced into that role, basically. Yeah. That's an example of it done well, but because it subverts all like the main expectations you have of a chosen one, like, and talk about main characters being killed off. I mean, Katniss obviously doesn't die, like, otherwise there wouldn't be 3 books, but there are main characters that die, I mean, all the time in Hunger Games.
Yeah. Another example, which I know you haven't read all of, but The Wheel of Time is like a really good example of a chosen one done well, because that's almost one of the points of the story is we have this chosen one, and then we explore how this chosen one is just absolutely having the worst time, doesn't want to be the chosen one, gets forced into this path that is not fun, goes down darker and darker paths and all sorts of drama that ensues. Wheel of Time just does a really good job of exploring exactly how much it would suck to be the chosen one, which is a fun twist on the story.
No, and then I think another example would be like Lord of the Rings. Frodo's definitely a chosen one, but he's kind of not what you would expect from it. He has no special skills at all, actually, except that he's a hobbit that wants a predictable, normal, easy life and gets forced to carry this like powerful thing all the way to the end. And there's many times when he almost fails, or like his own team is trying to get him. And so, yeah, it can be done well. It can be done very well. I think only when it subverts expectations and gives consequences to being the chosen one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I think that's the key, is a good chosen one story explores the weight of what it feels like to like have the entire like fate of the universe placed on your shoulders by a choice that's not your own. Like, that's actually like fundamentally a pretty interesting scenario. But if you don't treat it that way, then it's just like, ooh, like, I'm a super powerful hero because someone said so. Look at me, I'm cool. And that's not as fun.
Yeah, and that's a really, I feel like for new writers, a lot of times they accidentally create that chosen one as well, because they want the main character to be cool, to have like extra powers, to be strong enough to win. And it can be really easy to forget to give them consequences or problems to deal with that coincide with being the chosen one. All right, what's your number 5?
So my number 5 is probably a bit of a hot take, because I feel like this is generally kind of a popular trope, but I do not love a zombie apocalypse. And this really comes down to personal taste. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong inherently with zombie apocalypses. I just don't enjoy them because I 2 reasons for this. So the first reason is I like problems that are at least somewhat solvable, or even if they can't be entirely fixed, at least like somewhat mended, like moving in the right direction. I feel like zombie apocalypses are just like, there's really no hope here. Like, it gives me no reason to hope, and I like to have at least a little bit of hope in my stories. Like, even if it has like a tragic ending, I like a glimmer of hope, and a zombie apocalypse is like, there's not much hope at all.
It's so funny because I would disagree so wholeheartedly with that. Like, the whole positive to me about zombie apocalypse is like how people work together to help each other to try to survive, to like make it despite everything being like so bleak and so unwinnable. They still try. They still try to survive. They build relationships with each other. They help each other in these really dire situations. Like, I'll give an example of one that does this well, which is World War Z. And without giving any spoilers, the ending is, in my opinion, incredibly hopeful.
Yeah. And I mean, I've honestly stayed kind of away from zombie stories just because of that, but I think part of it, like, it's just really too dark for me, but the other part is like, I like conniving villains. I like villains that think and have personalities, and that, like, you're pitting, like, wits against wits. Like, that's probably my favorite type of villain, or even, like, a morally nuanced villain that's, like, you know, they have reasons for what they're doing, and, like, they think they're doing the right thing, but they're not. Like, I like villains who are people and have personalities, and zombies are not. And I feel like that's probably the bigger reason I don't like a zombie apocalypse over just, like, the fact that it's depressing.
I'm gonna push back on that one more time with one other example.
Okay.
So zombie apocalypses, one of the themes in a lot of those stories is how people respond to it. And a lot of times in zombie stories, as opposed to just like constantly fighting zombies, they're actually dealing with societies of people that have sprung up after the zombie apocalypse in their survival attempts. And for example, Walking Dead deals with this a lot, where there are a lot of antagonists that are fully human, fully non-zombies, and in fact, more of the dangers come from the humans than the zombies in The Walking Dead. Okay, I'll step off my soapbox.
No, and like I said, like, this is very much, like, personal preference. Like, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with zombies. You could absolutely enjoy a zombie apocalypse, and I will not begrudge you that. I think it's just the vibes of zombie apocalypse just don't work for me based on what
That's
I like.
fair.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's bleak and it's frustrating. I think it's mostly just, it frustrates me. Zombies frustrate me.
That's fair.
I don't want to
That's
be
fair.
dealing with zombies. I just want to focus on the people drama. Like, I just send the zombies away. They're just being annoying. Except I do have an example with zombies that I actually like, which is book 7 in the Dresden Files. It's not really much of a spoiler. It's pretty much in the book description. Dresden's fighting zombies in that book. And
Yes.
what I like about it is that it kind of makes up for the things that bother me about zombie stories a lot of the time, in that the zombies are being controlled by people. Like, there are necromancers are the real threat, and the zombies are just a weapon of the necromancers. So, like, it's a lot more, like, people-oriented story, and the zombies are more like they're a weapon. They're being controlled. I don't love mindless zombies, but if you get, like, the zombies under the control of a thinking entity, then I'm like, I am all for this. Like, I like people puppeteering zombies. Now, those are the zombies that I'll get behind. Just like the, like, mindless plague zombies, that's not my type of thing. I know people love it, not me. But anyway, I think we've talked about zombies enough, so on to number 4. So what is your number 4 pick for your least favorite trope?
Okay, and now I feel like I'm being the controversial one now with this take. I really, really hate, with a passion, revenge stories. I don't like them. I don't enjoy them. I don't want to read a revenge story. In fact, I will often conscientiously put down a book if I see the word revenge or vengeance or any, like, derivative therein. If I know it's gonna be a revenge story, I'm probably not even gonna read it.
Say that is a hot take, definitely, from my side, because I love a good revenge story, as long as it's not like, ooh, revenge is the best. I like stories that are revenge stories that explore the consequences of revenge. So It kind of has to strike a balance.
And I guess that's kind of like the same thing with The Chosen One. It can be done well. But most of the time it tends to be like a contrived plot point that, like, forces the character into, like, these really stupid decisions that you're just like, why are you, like, are you really that hell-bent on some revenge that, like, you can't even use your brain? Like, I hate when it's used as a reason for the character to make stupid decisions. Like, I understand making decisions that are poorly made. Obviously, I like unreliable narrators. I like anti-hero protagonists, but something about, like, oh, it's because I need to avenge the death of my father, or, like, you killed my wife or something. I don't know. It's just like, it's a little contrived, I guess, kind of like with Chosen One. Contrived is maybe the word I would use. It's not impossible to do well, but I don't usually enjoy it.
Yeah, I do agree that I think revenge can often be used as an excuse for characters making dumb decisions.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's one of those things where, like, if you write it well, it'll work. Because, yeah, sometimes characters will make dumb decisions
Right.
on the path to revenge, but it has to be justified that they would be so blind.
Right.
And if they've proven to be, like, generally a pretty competent, like, level-headed character, and then all of a sudden they just go off the handle because revenge, you have to earn it. Like, it has to be done well for it to actually work.
Exactly. So an example of it done well is another Joe Abercrombie, and it's called Best Served Cold. I mean, revenge is a dish, best served cold. That's obviously what he's referencing. I knew going in it was revenge, but like the reason that I went into it, even though I knew it was revenge and I wouldn't love that aspect of it, and it's not my favorite book, probably because of the revenge, but Joe Abercrombie just does such a good job of character development and like consequences to actions, and like the character may be after revenge, but she's not stupid about it. You know, like it's her motivation, and she makes some mistakes because of her desire for revenge, but she's not an idiot because she's out for revenge. Like, she's not making the most stupid decisions you've ever seen in your life because she's on a revenge kick. It's like the revenge is motivating her to action, but not decreasing her intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I ask.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Motivation, but not stupidity.
Right. But it's still, like, even though it's done well and even though I really enjoy it, it's still not a book I would ever want to reread, mostly just because, like, revenge is, like, it's all right.
Another example of a good revenge story I'd like to offer is coming back to Full Metal Alchemist. The character of Scar in that story is a really good revenge story because this is personal bias coming out. It's revenge, like, mixed with a little bit of redemption.
Right.
I don't want to say too much to spoil the story, but I really like that take on a revenge story because it's like, you know, pursuing revenge, but is this really the right path? Is this really what the people that I'm trying to, you know, get justice for would have actually wanted? And that is, to me, is a fascinating question. And I love the pairing of, like, revenge, but then, like, questioning whether that's really the right thing to do.
Yes.
And that's, I think, when revenge is done best.
Yes, if they decide not to take revenge at the end and, like, realize that it was the wrong decision, I would be all over that. I would be all over that. If they're after revenge and then somehow find out that they were wrong to be after that person, I would be down for that 100%. Yes.
I think that's what makes revenge best, is when it's complex.
All right, what's your number 4?
Well, my number 4, I know is actually on your list too. A little bit higher than I have it. But it is love triangles. And this is a trope that pretty much most people hate on. I feel like,
so
I'm not sure I've come across someone who actually loves love triangles, but, you know, if you do, let us know.
I have to imagine romance readers like love triangles. Why else would they keep reading them? Because almost every romance story has a love triangle in it. It's like such a common trope in romance.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, maybe it's just not. I feel like sci-fi fantasy readers are not a fan of love triangles, but perhaps other genres enjoy them more. But I think what annoys me the most about love triangles is that most of the time either it's really obvious which person is the best pick, or they're both terrible and you don't want the main character to end up with either of them. And both of those scenarios are frustrating. Or alternatively, both of the love interests are good and the main character sucks and you're like, run away as fast as you can.
And this particular trope is like excessively common in any story related to vampires and werewolves. Like, it is almost a guarantee if there are werewolves and vampires in a story, the main character is going to be choosing between a vampire or a werewolf. I mean, Twilight obviously comes to mind as like an obvious example, but that is like really, really common in like urban fantasy to have a love triangle with a human, a vampire, and a werewolf. They always choose the vampire. Like, why? Yeah. They always choose an undead, like, gonna kill people for their blood person, as opposed to a warm-blooded, kind, only has problems once a month werewolf. Why? Why? There's no logic.
I don't know. Yeah, not my subgenre for sure. So, you know, people who love it, you go for it, but that's not something you're going to catch me reading very often, if at all.
If I can avoid it most of the time, I would prefer to, though I have seen it done well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my example I came up with like a love triangle done well is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This is another example where I've only read the first 2 books, so anything changes in the 3rd book, my bad. I haven't read that yet. But, you know, genuinely, like, at least in the first couple books, like, both of the love interests are actually, like, good and likable characters.
That's so
It's just, like, crazy. It's like they were 2 of my favorite characters in the story, and it's like, wow, actually, I like both of the love interests. Yeah. I would be okay if the main character ended up with either of them. Like, and I think that's what does it for me with that love triangle is it's like, okay, this is okay because genuinely they're both good choices.
Right, and it makes sense for the character to be questioning both relationships and like which one should they actually pursue. Like, it makes sense if they like both of them. There's reason to like both of them. You can understand the decision for both of them. Because too many times love triangles are like, this guy is clearly the better option. But I do have an example, because it's on my list, it's technically my number 2, but since we're talking about it, I'll just go ahead and share my example. So love triangle is something I typically really just, I would rather you leave it out. Unless it's genuinely adding to, like, maybe it's like the character's specific strength or weakness, like, I don't care. But in Never Let Me Go, I think it's done really well. So Never Let Me Go is a dystopian alternate reality type story where these characters grow up isolated, and the main character, like, they're all orphans basically, and the main character gets this crush on a boy, but her best friend starts dating this boy. So how is she going to do anything about that? Like, how are you going to ruin your best friend's relationship just because you kind of like this boy? And so throughout the story, as they go from like 9-year-olds to teenagers to adults, she has this feeling towards him the whole time, but her friend is dating him pretty much the whole time. So she really never gets that outlet for like the love that she cares for that character. And I can't get into any further detail without getting into spoilers, so I will stop there. But I feel like that's an example of a love triangle that's done really well, but maybe that's because it's a little bit tragic and I like tragedy. So
yeah, no, I really like that example. I haven't read it myself.
Oh, it's so good.
But I think it touches on what is, if I had to pick a romance trope that is my favorite romance trope, it would be forbidden romance, because there's just, I like it when the drama in the romance is not coming from the characters not communicating. I like it when the drama is coming from, like, society will not allow these characters to be together, or circumstances will not allow these characters to be together. And I feel like that can make a love triangle work when it's like, oh, my friends are in love, and like, I don't want to hurt my friend, but I also like this guy. Like, that's interesting. That's good drama. And it's like, the triangle makes sense because, like, everyone are friends and they're like, there's more complex relationships going on here. And that, I agree, that'll make a love triangle work for me.
And actually, that book is probably still in, if not my top 5, my top 10 books of all time.
Well, maybe I'll have to pick it up.
Yeah. It's not very long.
Because that sounds pretty
It's
good.
a shorter book. It's very good. Very good. And the love triangle will just make you cry.
Listen, I do enjoy a tragic love story. I'm not gonna lie. Obviously, Forbidden Romance is my favorite romance trope.
Let's feel some pain.
You know, it works. Let's feel some pain. If we want to move on and take that as a segue to how to make me not feel any pain at all, I can share with you my number 3 least favorite trope.
Yes, please. What is your number 3?
That would be fake out deaths.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like, fake out deaths are just an immediate ticket to an eye roll. And usually killing a character is not something you want me to eye roll at. I would think, probably 95% of the time you're not going for comedic effect when you're killing off a character. But it takes all of the consequences and the emotional stakes out when you are like, oh, this character died. Oh no, everyone's sad. JK, they're not dead. This is fine. And like, genuinely, it will make me roll my eyes every time. And one of the worst examples, I'm not going to name the series because I don't want to give spoilers, and also just don't. It's genuinely a pretty good series. Like, other than the fake out deaths, I really enjoyed it. But there's a certain young adult sci-fi trilogy where there's a fake out death, and not 1, not 2, but all 3 finales, there is a fake out death. And the third one, I literally rolled my eyes, and I was just laughing. I'm like, this character is not dead. I guarantee you, they're not dead. Sure enough, they were not dead. It took all the emotional stakes out of what was otherwise genuinely a very good book. But it was like, really? No. They didn't die. You faked me out way too many times. That's really, like, as an author, I strive to, like, try and avoid that if at all possible, because it just takes away my suspension of disbelief and takes away my emotional investment, and that's just not what I want to have. I like being emotionally invested.
Exactly. So that's kind of ironic that it's in your bottom. I'm surprised it wasn't in my bottom 5 when I saw it on your list. I was like, dang it, that actually could have been in my top 5 or bottom 5. Because it really is like just taking away all the consequences of the death and just being like, oh, never mind. I don't want you to feel too much pain. I want you to feel pain, but only for a second. I'm going to make it all better for you because I don't think you can handle feeling pain, is how it feels like as a reader. Like, I don't trust you to deal with this pain and be okay, so I'm just gonna make sure you only temporarily feel that pain, and you get a band-aid back on it, which is your character's still alive.
It's really, really hard to make a fake out death, like, be done well, and it's hard to talk about examples without spoilers, because obviously fake out deaths are kind of a major spoiler, but, like, the best example that I'm guessing pretty much everyone has heard of, Lord of the Rings spoilers, if you are worried, but Gandalf dying in book 1 or part 1 or whatever you want to call it if you go by novels or volumes or whatever. The Fellowship of the Ring. Gandalf dying in the Fellowship of the Ring and then coming back in the Two Towers. That one works because there's actually like a legitimate large gap of time. There's consequences for Gandalf being gone. And when he comes back, he is different. He goes from Gandalf the Grey to Gandalf the White. Yeah. He is not the same. And that is what makes a fake out death work. In fact, that I'm not even sure that really counts as a fake out death because he died. He definitely did die. But he did come back.
I think reincarnation or like getting your body back or being revived is a form of fake out death. It means that your death was not like permanent, basically.
Yeah.
Though
that's
there
true.
can be really egregious examples of fake out deaths, and I think this kind of is like a theme of the bottom 5. Is like a lot of these end up being really contrived as well. Like fake out deaths can just be there to like, oh, this character's dead, mwahaha. Like, see, I kill main characters, and then you just bring them back at the beginning of the next book, like nothing ever happened. So it's just too often that it's done poorly. And I feel like as an author, your trust is like one of the biggest things you need from your audience to like trust you to take them along for the ride. And I feel like the second you do a fake out death, like the audience is going to have a hard time trusting if that character ever dies again or if any other character ever dies. And it is actually something I do in one of my novel series. I do have a fake out death, but I like to think that even the fake out has consequences and people react to the fact that it was a fake out and they have to deal with the fallout of that. Because I really think that it can be cheap.
Yeah.
Especially done with either the hero or the main antagonist. That's the most common times they're used.
And I guess I will fully admit I have done a fake out death in one of my books too, but it's like there's such like a time jump between when the character supposedly dies and when they reemerge that like I think a time jump really helps with the consequences of a fake out death, because it's like, yeah, effectively that character to the other characters was dead for years, and then they do eventually come back, but their absence very much impacted the plot, so it had consequences.
Well, when you say all that, I would say my book does something, or my series does something similar. There's like a 5-year gap, though I'm not dealing with time travel, so it's not like a 400-year gap. So this next one, my number 3 is your number 2. So I feel like it'll be a nice little transition because we've already talked about my number 2. And that was It Was All a Dream. And I feel like that's almost the exact same issue as you have with fake out deaths. Like It's All a Dream is the same issue for me as a fake out death.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it just, none of that happened. It was all in your imagination. Like,
I agree. Like, that's pretty much the same reason that I have it there, is just the way it tries to get you invested in something and then takes away all the consequences. Right. Like, it's frustrating, but I think the reason I put All Just a Dream as worse than Fake Out Deaths is because All Just a Dream is also, like, trippier. I don't know. Like, it plays with reality more, and then it's just making you question, like, what did I even just read? And then after you are like, what did I even just read? And they're like, psych, it was just a dream. So I'm like, not only did I not enjoy that because I was confused, it didn't matter either.
Yep.
Great.
It's really annoying when it's like none of that mattered. I've actually talked to my partner a little bit about like some of his least favorite tropes, and he has many times complained about this particular trope because it takes away from everything. That why did we even do all of that if it was just a dream? Like, why did we waste our time? Like, it's one thing if it's like a scene that's like, okay, this scene was a dream. But it's another thing when it's like the very reveal at the end of the story is that everything you just experienced was not real. That is the most annoying, like, rug pull. It's not even a twist. It's just like you wasted your time. And I know every story is fake. Like, I get it. It's fiction. There are technically no real stakes in a novel because none of it's actually happening. But that's just like, yeah, it just feels like you've just wasted all your time.
Yeah. Honestly, I would be even harsher on this trope. I would say it's not, for me, even an entire, like, chapter that's a dream will bother me. Like, I I'm okay if it's like part of a chapter, or if it's telegraphed very obviously that it was a dream. And it's like, this is a dream. The character falls asleep. Or even if it's like, it's laid out in a way that you can infer it's probably a dream. Right. Like, then I will take a whole chapter of it. That's fine. But like, if we go through an entire chapter, I think it's real, and then it gets pulled out. Just kidding, that wasn't real. That'll annoy me. Maybe not as much as the entire book being a dream, but it'll definitely turn me off.
It's funny because I have this on my list on the bottom 5, and I know that a lot of people don't like this, but I use this trope a little bit myself. But it is a consequence of the way the technology works in my story, that it's like inevitable that this will show up in some way. So I kind of have to accept that this is a consequence of the technology of my book. But I try to use it as minimally as possible because, again, as a reader, I really don't like it. So I'm trying really hard to make sure that it's minimal. But it is like inevitable with the technology in my book.
Yeah. And I mean, that makes sense when there's like an in-world like justification. Like, it's not just like the character's dreaming because I wanted them to. It's like, okay, the character is dreaming because, or maybe it's not exactly a dream. I'm not sure how it works, but like when the technology is causing this dream sequence, then that makes a lot more sense, and I'm more likely to accept it. And especially if the technology itself has consequences, then the dream is like part of the consequences of the technology.
Exactly. And so my one of my examples for It Was All a Dream is technically a movie, but it does exactly what you're just saying. It all is dreams within dreams within dreams. Like, that's the whole premise of the story, is dreams within dreams. So like, you know, going into it, there's gonna be a lot of stuff with dreams. And part of the experience of the story is trying to parse out, is it a dream or is it reality? So it's like the trope is subverted in a way that it's not normally used, but that is Inception. I think people probably got that when I said dream within a dream, but even the ending of it is like, was this a dream? I don't know. You're never going to see the answer. You don't get to know. Did it end a dream or was that reality? We don't know. And that's kind of the beauty and the tragedy of the ending of that story.
Yeah, and I think that really works because it's like that's the entire theme of the story, and it's very explicit from the front of the story that it's like, this is a story about dreams. Right. And so you know that dreams are involved going in, so when the question at the end is this a dream? Makes sense.
Especially, that's an example of like where the character's weakness reinforces the theme and the consequences of everything that happens. His weakness revolves around his obsession and inability to let go of these dreams.
The example I came up with, bringing up Wheel of Time again, but listen, there's a lot of good stuff in Wheel of Time if you can get through all the really slow, boring stuff. So in Wheel of Time, there is literally a magic system where there is this world of dreams where people go into the dreams and you can manipulate the dreams, and like it has consequences within the real world. So if you like get stabbed in the dream, you effectively got stabbed in the real world.
I like that.
These people who are going into the dreams, you know, manipulating, putting themselves on the line, like there are actual consequences, and it changes the trajectory of things, even though it is technically a dream. It's a little bit more than a dream. Yeah. And it's really one of my favorite magic systems, honestly. At first, like when it got introduced, I was like, oh, dream magic? I don't like dream stuff. But then I got into it and I'm like, no, this is really fascinating, because it's like the dream becomes a blank canvas that you like shape with your force of will. Really takes away what was the point, and like really gives the characters power within the dream, which is cool. It's like, I'd love to see more of that, like dreams where the characters are actually like influencing their course, because that's really interesting to me.
I like that, like where if you die in the dream, for example, or you die in the game, you could die in real life. I like that kind of consequence because we want more tragedy.
Yeah, I think that's really the key is, yes, we want consequences, gosh dang it.
Everything needs consequences, otherwise why would we care about this? Like, if the stakes aren't there, if the consequences aren't there, like, yeah, it's cool, like, all right, cool, virtual realities, all right, cool, dreams, but, like, they have to have a purpose and a consequence. Well, dang, I think that we're now at our least favorite tropes, and I feel like we could not have gone a more different direction with this last one.
We really didn't, but go ahead. What is your least favorite trope of all?
I hate this with a fiery, burning passion. It pisses me off. It's in almost every single story you ever read. If you watch a movie in Hollywood, it is there. Like, it is a requirement of stories for some reason, and I could not dislike a trope more than this, and that is an obligatory love interest. Like, why? Why is it obligatory that we have love interests in every single story that is ever written? Like, I don't need them in every single story, and so often this love interest is like a blank Mary Sue who just exists to supplement the main character and be there for the main character to fall in love with. Or, for example, like with Batman, he has to choose between Robin and his love interest, or like they're just there to serve some kind of like plot purpose or to be used against the character, or just there so that they can throw in a spicy scene, as opposed to like actually being an important integral part of this. Like, so often they're just there for the sake of being there, and I could not hate anything more than that. I hate it.
So basically, you're talking like a romance subplot that has been thought through absolutely 0%.
Yeah, and that is too often what happens with romance plots. Like, it's like, oh, these two characters, like, they're in love now. What? You didn't develop any? And like, I saw one video that she just described it so well, and it's like, the author just has them staring at each other dreamily, and then you're just supposed to accept that they're in love now, and like they see each other, they love each other, like love at first sight. There's like tension where like they suddenly hate each other, or like the one leaves, and then in the end, like, everything happily ever after. It's too often done. And it feels like people put it in because they think they have to, as opposed to it actually serving a purpose for the story.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, I think too many stories put in a love interest because they feel like they need to put in a love interest. Like,
right.
Almost like a reward to the main character. Like, congratulations, right. You are a hero. Here is love. Like, exactly. And that's not how love works. Like, if you're going to have a love interest, you need to actually explore it.
Exactly. Which is why my example of love interest done well is actually Dresden Files. I feel like he has two main love interests, but the one that I like really think is very well done is his romance with Susan. It's very tragic. It makes sense why they would start to fall for each other and how everything plays out, and then there's consequences to being tied to each other. Maybe saying it's tragic is a bit of a spoiler, but that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's interesting that you say that, because I would also agree with using the Dresden Files as an example, but I have always shipped Dresden with Karen Murphy, like, from book one.
She is a great character, and I do like that eventually stuff happens. They're like a will they, won't they type of love interest that I really enjoy, and, like, they are genuine friends.
Yeah. Like, both of them are good examples of obligatory love interest, because they're both characters that, like, in a less well-written story would just be basically, oh, here's your prize for being a hero. Right. But instead, they're both just, like, actually very complex characters with their own motives. and their own stuff going on. And I think that's really the key to writing a love interest that works and doesn't feel like just thrown in for no reason, is they need to be their own person, and they need to have their own goals and stuff happening that don't revolve around the main character.
Yeah. All right, what's your number one?
So my number one, I was trying to decide how to define this, but effectively it is, I love redemption arcs so much that my number one least favorite trope is literally just like the reverse of a redemption arc, which is the evil by nature trope. So what I'm defining this as is when a story like frames either a character or even like an entire group of people, like a race or a religion or something, frames them as just evil by nature. Like they were just born evil. They're, you know, unredeemably evil. They were always doomed to be evil from the start, and there is no way that they would ever be better. And that's, it can be written well, I suppose, but it's just something I simply do not want to read. No interest. I don't like it. I don't like the message it sends, because in real life, like, people are complicated. Like, you know, everyone is, you know, an individual, and I don't believe anyone's born fundamentally evil. Fundamentally flawed, for sure, but fundamentally evil, I don't agree with that. So, whenever this comes up in stories, it comes up in like fantasy, especially in terms of like evil races.
Super common in
tend
fantasy.
To come up a lot. But it also comes up in like mysteries sometimes, like especially like older mysteries where it's like, oh, they were always bad all along because they were psychologically disturbed. And then it's like, I do not like that message at all. I'm like, excuse me, no, like maybe with a little bit of help, they could be a lot better. But this is like probably the one trope that can actually ruin a book for me. Like the other ones, they will annoy me greatly, but evil by nature as a main theme of a book will really, it can ruin the book for me.
Yeah, I can agree with that, especially like I really don't enjoy moral absolutism. So like this one's evil and this one's good, just like hands down, there's no question about it. You don't for a second think, oh, maybe they had some kind of reason for doing. It's just like they're evil through and through, and there's absolutely nothing even remotely redeemed. That really frustrates me. But I also like moral ambiguity, so anytime it's like really absolutely like this is bad and this is good, that really takes me out, which is probably why I don't read as much fantasy, because that's really common in fantasy for there to be like, these are just the bad guys and you just have to accept.
One thing I do have an example of like evil by nature that works for me, and I think it's really stories that follow this vein are okay in my book. They may not be always my ultimate favorite because they don't explore the moral nuance, but stories like this actually like make sense to have this like good versus evil morality. And of course the example, which is probably to the surprise of no one, is Lord of the Rings. I think I know it keeps coming up because it's just so good. But Lord of the Rings does this really well, and the reason why is just the nature of what type of story it is. Like Tolkien, like, very specifically wrote Lord of the Rings as a very mythological type story. Like, that was the vibe he was going for. Almost like a mythology of Great Britain and stuff like that. And other people could probably go into way more detail about this. I know there are a bunch of Lord of the Rings scholars on the internet.
What?
Yes, but what makes it work is just that mythological tone, is that it's very much like, you know, like the orcs are like an evil race. They were like, they're basically corrupted elves.
Right.
But they serve as like a thematic force of evil more than like actual like culture and people. Like they are there to make a point about like just the inevitable like corruption and decay of Middle Earth. Right. And they're not really there as like individual characters. And because of the tone and what the story is going for, it works. Like we don't need to know about orc society in Lord of the Rings, because that's not the point. The point is that there's just this great evil spreading across the land, and it needs to be stopped or held at bay. And it allows us to focus in on other characters who are actually like very nuanced. Like, for example, one of my favorite characters is Gollum slash Smeagol.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in the same story where we have these orcs who are evil by nature, you have Gollum, who is just like so torn and just like balancing on the precipice of like, you know, redemption or darkness. And I love that whole storyline. And so like there is the moral nuance there in that story, but we don't need it from the orcs, because the orcs are more of a concept than a people. And evil, like as like a mythological concept, I think really makes it work more, because it's more mystical as opposed to you were born evil, so you be evil. It's like it's a greater force that makes it work more for me. And so I think that's why Evil by Nature is just my number one least favorite, because it just makes it very clear. Nope, it's bad. Yeah. If you think there's any possibility for good, nope, it's bad. Just deal with it. And I don't like that. So I think the main theme that we both agree on in the bottom 5 is that we like to have consequences in our stories. And when the tropes take away from the consequences, it annoys us both.
Yes. If the trope exists to almost like excuse the plot, or like to allow a plot to happen despite how things would be real, like it takes away the realism, maybe, for me, is the issue.
Yeah. And it causes unnecessary drama. Like I want the drama to be meaningful. Exactly. And when the drama like doesn't feel meaningful, I'm just annoyed.
Yeah. Exactly. When it's contrived. And I feel like, at least with my 5, it's not like they can't be done well. It's just they're so predominantly done in a contrived way that they become tired to me and old and, like, unoriginal.
And I think mine are kind of the balance of my middle 3 are all ones that are just overdone, contrived to take away the consequences. But my number 5 and my number 1 are very much more like personal preference things, where it's just thematically I don't enjoy it. Yeah. And I can totally understand if someone else might like that more. It's just absolutely not my thing.
Right, like I'm deeply upset the zombie apocalypse is on your list. Like, talk about
and
one
I'm
of my
like
favorite
only
genres.
A little miffed that like revenge is on your list, because I enjoy a good revenge story. As long as it's done correctly, it can be some of my favorite stuff. I like stories about justice, and revenge is always a question of justice.
That's a good point.
Just sometimes it's not handled well. It's like, this is not justice, so I am no longer invested.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just so often done poorly. But The Count of Monte Cristo is a great revenge story, so I guess.
Oh, I love The Count of Monte Cristo.
It's one of my favorite stories ever.
Yes, same.
Some classics are classics for a reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I guess we're at the point where, like all the things, share, subscribe, click the buttons, comment, share with us your tropes that make you eye roll. We would love to eye roll with you or fight you and remind you that our opinion is right and your opinion is wrong.
Politely.
Politely, of course. But just no. No, I'm just kidding.
No, all opinions welcome here.
Yes.
So
who knows? You may open my eyes.
Feel free to share and we can have a good dialogue.
Exactly, yes. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Thanks.